Recording. All right. Are you gonna do you do the intro as usual?
It's a bit embarrassing, but you know.
With Akwasi standing right there. This is what we're gonna have to do when we have guests on.
Oh no, I'm not embarrassed from him. I'm just embarrassed from the audience. You do this crap all the time. It's so contrived. We're gonna have to change this intro up, but yeah, let's for now.
It's coming.
Let's
All right.
Welcome, film fans. It's Baron and the Doc here. That's Baron and the Doc here. And we're talking today about the Netflix feature, Don't Look Up by Adam McKay.
And this is the show where we talk about films and the films that we were reminded of while watching those films. There are spoilers, but stick with us.
Don't Look Up, Baron.
I know. It's a big film. Came straight to Netflix, avoided the cinemas completely, and it has a huge cast.
The cast is ridiculous. It's an Oscar cast, isn't it? Like they've virtually all got a trophy.
Absolutely. I think, when you see these films come up, you go, well, this could either be great with this huge cast attached, or it could actually be really lame. And there's a thing with films that go straight to Netflix that you have that little concern in the back of your mind, like, why did it go straight to Netflix? What's going on here? But the world is changing. No longer do you have to have films that open up and have a big theatrical release with this level of star in it. Netflix is willing to throw the money to have this cast and just stream it on their platform.
God bless Netflix.
I know.
We're in this new world where we don't really know what the rules are anymore. So we're just making it up as we go along. As our Netflix, as our cinemas, everyone's just working it out.
Right.
But before we talk about the film, this episode's a bit different. Like last week we had a special guest, and today we've got another one. What's the story there?
Well, we're sort of slowly moving towards this thing that we've wanted to do for 50 episodes. It's episode 55 now. We're finally getting around to it.
55? Are you serious?
Yes. Okay. Where we have guests on. And the thought from the beginning was, if the film suggests something and we know somebody or we can get somebody on the show that can talk to that thing and it just feels like a nice fit, why wouldn't we do that? It doesn't always have to be you and me talking, because we just, maybe that just gets a bit old. Maybe after, we still want to do it most of the time or some of the time, but occasionally we want to bring in some fresh life into this room. Don't you reckon?
Well, I think it's in desperate need of fresh life. Yes. Who have we got today? Do we want to spoil it or? Let's
spoil it. So he's not on the show yet. He'll be coming on later in the episode, but we have my brother-in-law, Akwasi Osei-Tutu, who is a stand-up comedian, and we just thought would be, but you and I have both seen his shows, a perfect fit for this film because of the theme of this film, what this film is kind of doing through satire. So, and it's very similar to what he does with his comedy. He speaks about very serious political and racial issues, but does it through comedy, and that's what this film is doing. So it just felt like a great fit.
Yep, I agree. He's a student of life, a student of comedy.
Yes.
Just a good bloke. Can't wait to hear what he thought about the film. Before that, I want to know what you thought about the film, or do I have to do a bloody synopsis? Is it my turn?
I can do the one-liner if you like, and then we can take it from there, or you can do the one-liner.
If you're just going to do the one-liner, I'll bloody do it.
Okay.
Then I'll have next episode off.
Great.
So the one-liner is, 2 low-level astronomers must go on a giant meteor tour to warn mankind of an approaching comet that will destroy planet Earth. Was that the same one-liner as you had?
You got it. That's the IMDb.
Yeah.
It's basically, that's a log line. That's what you would see in their pitch document going out for funding, pretty much. It's very uninspired. But it's meant to be, the idea of that is meant to be, with any log line, what's the hook? Like, what's the thing that'll get all your investors excited about this project and go, that's new. That's something I haven't seen before. And I suppose 2 mid-level astronomers going on a media tour and trying to save the world is kind of new. We haven't really seen a lot of that. So,
okay, that'll do.
Yeah.
I listened to a couple of podcasts reviewing it, which I don't normally do prior to these sessions.
Yeah, you don't.
Yeah, but
we generally don't do that. So
we generally don't. Yeah. But I just sort of, out of interest, listened to a couple, and the reviews were mixed. Some sort of half liked it, some didn't like it at all.
Yeah.
And it just made me think what you thought.
Oh, yeah.
Because I trust
Because
your
we
opinion.
assumed that, because we often have very similar opinions on films.
We do.
We generally like the same films.
Broadly speaking.
Michael
Bay aside,
Yeah.
we generally like the same. Or Alien even. We're
Yeah.
a bit divided on Alien.
Oh, dude.
I had quite a distinct reaction to this film, and the other reviews didn't quite gel with what I thought. But just, I want to hear from you. I'm really excited to know what you think.
I freaking love this film.
Great. So did I.
Did you freaking love this film?
I did. Not
Great.
everyone did, but now we're gonna.
I love
find
this
common
film.
ground.
This film is one of my faves of the year.
Wow.
Is it this year or last year? I guess it sneaks into this year.
Let's call it this financial year.
It's one of my faves of this financial year.
This bank year.
Yeah. Damn. Yeah, it's a great film, I think. I can totally see that it's not for everyone.
Yeah.
Because it's a certain type of genre. It's a absurd satire. Well, it's kind of absurd, right? It's not entirely absurd, but it has elements of it that you just go, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Would that actually ever be what a president and her son behaves like? But at the same time, you totally believe that maybe that's is exactly what they behave like.
It's also kind of a satire.
Yeah.
Like, it's called a satire, but I don't think it's completely satirical. There's a lot of there's almost too much real life in there. Like, it's not just satire, it's drama as well.
You're right. And that's what's great about it.
And that's what I think some people have missed.
It's a little genre bending, I suppose, in that respect.
We love our genre bending.
Yeah, we do. Yeah. You're right, because it's complicated. It's not a straightforward satire. It's not a straightforward comedy. It's not a straightforward drama or thriller, but it's got elements of all of those things playing off each other, and it's kind of brilliant for that. And we just got to talk about Adam McKay for a moment.
Okay, well, you might have more to say than I do. I know roughly his back catalogue. He came from, Will Ferrellism, and SNL, and all those Talladega Nights, and what are they? Step Brothers, and
some of the worst and the best Will Ferrell things have come from Adam McKay.
Well, I'm not sure you can distinguish between the best and the worst Will Ferrell. They're all just the same.
No, I can distinguish.
You can?
Absolutely.
Well, okay, maybe you can, but I just know watching Will Ferrell.
Yeah.
For a long while there, every Will Ferrell movie that came out had exactly the same plot line, but transposed into a different world.
Yes.
And I'm only now realising that perhaps all of those were Adam McKay.
A lot of them were Adam McKay, and I will agree with you that they have very similar tropes. However, there are clear standouts. For me, and I'm sure everyone's has different opinions on this, but let's just talk about some of the main ones. We've got Anchorman, Talladega Nights.
Talladega or Gator?
Dega.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure.
Step
Brothers.
I know what we're talking about.
The Other Guys. Just to name like four of them, right? Everyone's got their favorites. Anchorman, I get it, but I never really loved it, and people loved the hell out of that film. Like, they loved the shit out of it. I remember when that film came out, people were quoting lines from Anchorman for months and months afterwards. And I sort of just never really didn't do it for me. What I will say is that The Other Guys is one of my favorites. I love that film. It's ridiculous in all the same ways that the others are ridiculous, but it just has something. It's just got something beautiful about it. It's the combination of Wahlberg and Will Ferrell, and the situation, the ridiculousness of it all. The best bit of that movie, in a one line, is you've got the two cops that are the awesome cops. Samuel L. Jackson's one of them.
Yeah.
And they decide in the heat of the moment in a chase to jump off of a building and aim for the bushes. They just say, aim for the bushes. And they jump, and there are no bushes. And they hit the ground and die.
What?
It's incredible.
I haven't seen this.
It's incredible. And then the other guys are the crap cops, Will Ferrell and Wahlberg, and they have to step in and take their place. It's great.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah.
You should have given me this as homework.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Well, anybody who wants to see the light side of Adam McKay,
Yeah.
I recommend the other guys.
Okay, I think we've spent a lot of time, probably more than we should have, on his back catalogue, and only part of it. So that's kind of the light Will Ferrell days.
Yeah.
Then he went to some of the stuff that's perhaps more similar to what we're talking about today. Big Short and what's the
Vice.
other one? Cheney, the Cheney one.
Yeah, Vice.
Vice, yes.
Yeah, the political thriller, I guess.
He's kind of had
if you want to call them something. That's
he had a sea change, didn't he? Or,
Yeah.
or an elevation into sort of more serious work.
Yes. Yeah. And The Big Short was great. I think it won the Academy Award for that year, or at least it was nominated for a bunch of stuff. Great film and totally different in tone.
Yeah.
This film is a bit of both.
Yeah, agree.
Don't you think?
Yeah, I remember loving The Big Short. I can't remember the specifics, but I remember the vibe, and it was quite different and engaging in a sort of half, almost documentary style. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually, for a minute, thought it was Aaron Sorkin that made that film.
Yes, it's very Aaron Sorkin.
Yeah.
Good one.
Yeah. And there's a bit of Aaron Sorkin in this film as well. If you want to throw in a little mini reminds me of, it's got to do with the dialogue, the fast pace, the fact that it's actually just people in rooms all the time.
Yeah, okay.
But it's exciting, you know?
Yeah.
That the world is at risk, and it's all come down to discussions in a room. That's very Sorkin.
Yeah, I hadn't picked Sorkin for this one. I acknowledge it for Big Short. So I think it heavily influenced Big Short.
Yeah.
And then that influence has just sort of trickled in
I agree.
to McKay's DNA and found itself in Don't Look Up.
Yeah. And I think this is, because of that, the combination of those two worlds, of his two styles of filmmaking, what we have here is something that feels really fresh and just works. It's great.
I'm so glad you said that, because the stuff that I'd listened to was really either lukewarm or pessimistic about it, almost eye-rolling about it. But when I was watching it, I was drunk. I know that's a common theme. and getting gradually. I don't think I was smashed at the start. But I think as he pours one.
I know. Well, I need to.
Yeah. Now we've got to explain this. I know I listened to a previous episode and I realised that sounds
like we're both pissing under the
both
table.
having a leak. But it's just us pouring a drink.
Well, we are here for hours sometimes.
What are you drinking? It's
This is gross. What I'm drinking is spiced rum and root beer.
Spiced rum and root beer. Great.
And what I wanted to do was drink it out of this here. I don't know if that's in focus.
He looks familiar.
This is a limited edition Doc mug, which may or may not become for sale on our website later.
Well, the mugs aren't limited edition, but me wearing a suit
That's true.
Is a rarity. So let's talk about it. Cast, I think you mentioned cast. The cast is ridiculous here.
Yeah.
Do we want to? I don't know if we want to step through them or not.
I think, well, okay, so that can get long. However, what a cast. Maybe we should do a little one, just a little, for each one, just a little something.
Okay, we'll start with Leo.
Okay.
Now, Leonardo DiCaprio has never been a favourite of mine. I've kind of always had a bit of an allergic reaction.
Yeah? Why is that?
I don't know.
What's wrong with Leo?
No, good question.
Okay.
I think it's from Romeo and Juliet, where I was so in love with Claire Danes.
Oh, and you were a little jealous.
Maybe.
It started off as jealousy.
Maybe, and I just... I knew he had quite a catalogue before that. He was in Basketball Diaries. He was a young kid with a future. And then he appeared in Romeo and Juliet. I didn't like the film. I actually hated the film. Sorry, Baz.
Baz is doing all right.
So I think I ditched Leo with the film.
Yeah.
But retained Claire Danes. Anything good about the film was just I just encapsulated with
Yeah.
Claire Danes, and I still love her.
She
to this
is
day.
great in it.
She's great. And Leo,
Have you seen Homeland?
I haven't.
Well, you should watch that. She's great in that.
No, I imagine she is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Leo's awesome. Personally.
Well, I think he was pretty good in this. So
Yeah.
I
He
now,
definitely won me over in this. I feel like this is one of his best performances for a long time.
Well, I haven't seen many of them because I've avoided him.
Yeah.
Because of bloody Romeo and Juliet, which I think is a mistake because I really enjoyed him here.
Yeah.
And I think he was the heart and soul and the through line of the film.
Yeah. Absolutely. I totally agree. And, the other thing about Leo is that he is a passionate climate change, fighter of not dealing with climate change. Let's put it that way. And clearly this film is like, struck a nerve. The script's come along. He's gone, hell yes, I need to be part of this. And he's just dived in, and you can feel the passion and the anger and the angst and that raw emotion coming through in spades the whole way through, because it's clearly personal for him.
Are you talking about 1 hour and 30 minutes in, when the movie probably should have ended as far as time-wise, when he gives that impassioned
On TV.
speech on TV, which is clearly, I know, I love the film, so this is not a criticism, but that scene was clearly filmed for the Oscars. Like when
I guess.
Nominated Leo DiCaprio, Best
Yeah.
Actor, and then they play that clip, and it's meant to be all profound. It kind of sickens me to think of it, but
I don't think of it that way. It didn't occur to me that way.
yeah, that's what I saw when that was only, it was, I wouldn't say a low point of the film, because it wasn't. It was a great scene.
Yeah.
I thought he played it beautifully, but I could only see it playing at the Oscars.
Yeah. Oh, it will. It will. So, okay, I feel like that's true, but it's maybe a cynical approach to it. However, I think it's true. I think it's true. I think that Adam McKay went, this is the moment where this is the catharsis that we need.
Yeah.
We need this, to see this guy who's been bottling this up and trying to just be the responsible scientist and, do it the calm, collected. It'll be okay if we slowly educate people. We need to see him explode. I think that's where it comes from, personally.
Yeah.
But yes, yeah, it's totally going to be, it's going to be the Oscar moment for sure.
It is.
Yeah.
But it was all, negatives aside, it was all the more compelling because he started as that serious science guy.
Yeah.
And then he deviated, didn't he, into a Brett Sutton
Yes.
style. So
He
Brett
did.
Sutton, for our
He became Brett Sutton.
our international viewers,
Yeah.
Brett Sutton is the chief science guy. Is he? What is he?
He's the chief health officer.
Chief health officer.
For Victoria. Became a bit of a sex symbol just for no reason
Yeah, I know.
during COVID.
Exactly. And it was his Leo's arc was so similar to Brett Sutton.
That's hilarious.
It's crazy.
That didn't occur to me. That's
Oh, it
great.
didn't? That
No.
was going to be one of my
Didn't occur to
reminds
me.
me, but
That's a
I
beautiful
wasn't
one.
sure if it was
Sprinkle them in.
kosher.
I love it.
To have the chief health officer,
Yeah.
as it reminds me of. But yeah,
It's not normal. It's not our normal approach, but I love it.
our chief health officer became a sex symbol, and this completely mirrored real life.
Yeah.
And that probably wasn't the intention, but it was pretty cool for us locals.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we've talked about Leo.
Yep.
I think we both agree. Great performance. Jennifer Lawrence?
Look. Yeah, not bad.
Yeah. You know what I liked about Jennifer Lawrence's performance is that she is kind of known for being... And in fact, actually, this is something interesting about these two, is you get a sense of who they are in reality coming through in this film. She's sort of known for being the straight talker, the one with those sort of witty, sharp, unexpected remarks in interviews. And that's what you get in this as well. However, she's kind of loved for that in reality. In the film, she says the unpopular things and she's loathed for it. And it's really interesting because that happens to other people. You know, they basically they say something that's unpopular and they're done, you know? And that's sort of what, they become a meme.
How funny was it when she became a meme?
Yeah.
It almost was a tone shift, wasn't it? Because it was pretty serious up until then.
Yeah.
Then Jennifer Lawrence became a meme.
Yes.
And it got all silly.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I think for both Leo and Jennifer, it was they haven't done heaps in recent years. So I think this film was a really pointed choice for them to get involved in. So I feel like they both would have invested quite heavily in it and would hope to be proud of their performances.
I agree totally. Meryl Streep. And we might as well include Jonah Hill. Meryl Streep as the president of the US and Jonah Hill as her son and chief of staff.
Both quite two-dimensional, weren't they? Like, if you think of Leo, who does have an arc that goes places.
Yeah.
Jennifer Lawrence, kind of, not quite so much, but she's still a central character that has emotional, moments.
Yes.
and different journeys that she travels.
Yeah.
Meryl Streep and Jonah Hill just play off them, and I think they're caricatures. They do it quite well. They give you a little bit of a buzz seeing them on screen. Other than that, I don't care much.
I think they're there for comedic value and to be caricatures, as you say.
Yeah.
And that's required in a satire. You need to make fun of the power structure of the time and the people who are running things and all of that. And I think there's actually something really funny about the relationship they have, and it works. I would put Mark Rylance, who plays the billionaire...
Plays Elon Musk.
Elon Musk.
Is it Elon Musk or is it... What's his name? Apple?
Well, it could be, or it could be Bezos. It could be any of those three. It's basically the billionaire with a god complex that thinks their technology is going to save the world, right?
You know, I really, really enjoyed his performance, and I wasn't. He was so recognisable to me, and Wendy and I were watching and saying, "Who is he? What's he been in?" And I went and saw his back.
Loads of stuff.
He's
an amazing actor,
but never really the main guy. So it was interesting. Like, have you charted his career? Do you know much about him?
Just trying to remember, there was a film about a bridge.
A film about a bridge. Oh, thanks for that insight.
Yeah, there was a film about a bridge in World War II.
Bridge over the River Kwai. Well, he would have been a little baby, a little sexy baby.
A Spielberg film. Yeah. Tom Hanks, maybe. I don't know. I've seen him in stuff. He's great. Yeah. He's great in everything that I've seen him in.
He was really, really fun in this, wasn't he? Because he...
Yeah.
I was going to say he didn't break character. Now, of course you don't break character in a film because they cut that out.
Yeah.
But I still credited him for keeping that ridiculous character up for the whole thing.
Absolutely. And it was ridiculous, but it was really fun.
It was.
And just the whole idea that he has some, he will save the world with his inventions that he's never tested before. It's just beautiful. Like, that does feel exactly like an Elon Musk, Yeah. That's what the world's come to, All these billionaires that are flying to space and doing crazy stuff and planning trips to different planets to save humanity. It is crazy. The whole thing is crazy.
Well, it represents this whole other thing that's happening. Like, you see Elon Musk in conversation with, Joe Rogan or someone, and you see that he's operating on a completely different sphere that we're just not all thinking of. And this represented that completely. And then to see the public buy into it.
Yes.
That was so telling as well.
Yeah, it's like a Messiah thing. They're just like, oh, great, finally, here's this guy, he's going to save us all.
And we're willing to accept anything that's going to that gives us hope.
Yep.
Okay, everything, the facts aren't all that cool, so we'll ignore those and we'll just listen to this fairy story that this weird guy's
absolutely
selling.
Absolutely. Hey, there's so many other great casts in this, but I think we should skip through.
It's crazy.
I mean, to name a few, Cate Blanchett, her character's great. Tyler Perry and her basically epitomizing everything that's wrong with the world today. The two of them, beautiful.
Yeah.
Timothy Chalamet's in it.
He was great.
He's great.
Yeah, he was in our last 2 episodes back. In
Yeah,
June.
yeah, he's been in everything recently.
Yeah, I didn't know him prior to June. I'd never seen him before, never heard of him before.
Really?
Isn't
Yeah.
that an admission?
Well, now he's everywhere.
And he was really good in this. I loved him.
Yep. Ron Perlman was hilarious. Ariana Grande and Kid Cudi. I just thought that was great to see the two of them in there. Like, it's just fun, like a really fun cast.
And Ariana, in particular, I had a note here that how just the choice of her brought the whole story into the real world.
Yeah.
Like, it made me feel like it's happening in our world.
Yes.
And she was really good.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there was a really strong understanding from Adam McKay that, you know, what he had to do, the mission here, was not to get across Armageddon style, the end of the world, that it's coming and we're all going to perish and, you know, the doomsday stuff. But just the fact that we don't give a shit about any of that. And we're more interested in the love interests of our stars and you know, keeping everything positive with the TV shows and keeping the morning ratings high. And, you know, like that's all that matters. And that's the ridiculous craziness of it all.
And I quite find that quite profound because we're living through that as we speak, and it's so familiar. And yet what disappointed me was some of the podcasts I listened to. One was from NPR.
Yeah, right.
In the States.
Yeah.
And they really bagged it.
Yeah.
You know, and they were basically saying that, okay, this is trying to be a climate change movie and it's not addressing the issues of climate change and taking it way too seriously, I thought, and rolling their eyes at it. And I thought that's not really the point. It's not just addressing climate change. It's just having a wink, nudge approach to everything about our current society that's influenced by climate change and bloody COVID, and it just
Correct.
It's like a mirror to us, and it's the end result makes you a bit anxious and nervous.
Hell yeah. Big time.
Effectively.
Yes. It's an allegory, and it's done beautifully. It's actually, I think this is what makes it so powerful for me, is that they've gone, how do we talk about climate change without talking about climate change? How do we bring up all of the issues with our scientists screaming at us that we need to do something, and we're more interested in our day-to-day bullshit and our technology and our stars and our gossip and, you know, not affecting our lives, not looking at the problem. You know, how do we get that across with something that's just like more direct and more straightforward than what climate change is? It's like it's a perfect scenario. Like, everybody can understand the idea of you know, something from the heavens is going to come down and explode the whole planet. There's nothing more concrete than that. You know what I mean? Whereas the problem with climate change is everybody likes to muddle it up, make it complicated, roll their eyes at it because we haven't dealt with all the little intricacies, which is what NPR's done in that, you know, and that's the whole point of the film, is they're saying, no, it's not that complicated. It's very simple, you know, if you really get down to what it's all about. And that's what I think is really clever about it.
Well, yeah, something obvious is going to hit us and destroy us.
Yes.
And the absolute genius, this is only a small thing. I don't know if it's Adam McKay or some other genius that thought of it, but the title of Don't Look Up. Firstly, the hashtag look up.
Yes.
Is great. Like, that's all you need to do. Just look up, and it's there. The evidence is there.
Yeah.
That was really cool. But then the counter movement of Don't Look Up is so
of the times.
Cool and telling, and it encapsulates, again, not just climate change, but everything that's happening now, like all the COVID deniers and all that sort of stuff. You know, just don't ignore what's happening, and life will be fine if you just don't look up. That's a great title for a film.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's so simple and it's beautiful. You're right. It's that whole, you need to look up. It's right there. We've got all the proof. But then people come out and say, don't look up.
There's a movement. Don't look up.
Don't look up. Definitely don't look up. And then, of course, one day, the thing that they've been telling you about the whole time is actually visible. Yeah. And all the people that were saying, don't look up, suddenly freak out because it's there and they can see it. And seeing is believing. And that's what it's all about, right?
Yeah.
That's the whole thing with climate change. Because they can't see it happening right now, they won't believe it. And that's the beauty of this film. It illustrates that whole arc perfectly. The scientists are telling you it's there. You won't believe it. Then you see it for yourselves, but by that point it's way too late. And then you believe it. It's crazy.
And it was well done.
It's beautifully done.
I just to get back to the NPR, I was annoyed at the fact that the commentary was, bagging the film for not kind of explaining climate change enough and going into the detail of it. And I just thought that was just a bad faith, criticism.
Yeah.
Like, why does it have to do all that? It was an entertaining ride, and it's giving everything I need to hear about. It's not going to convince anyone. If they're a denier, it's not going to convince them, but it really reinforces and makes you feel good about the attitudes of the time. It feels like today.
Yes. And that actually, I didn't hear the interview or the review, but that does sort of reinforce some of the worst behaviors or some of the worst things that come out of the left sometimes, is that they say, well, it's not going far enough, or it's not doing this or that. Yes. And it misses the whole point, that it's actually doing something, and it is actually quite effective for your everyday person, who's taking this in. And that's what it's all about. It's about talking to the masses, the wider audience, rather than the people who are really concerned about the intricacies of whether it's all been, illustrated.
Yeah, that's a good point. Without getting political, that's the problem with I won't say the far left or the crazy left, but the sort of the left.
Yeah.
Like,
in general.
I'm a middle lefty.
Yeah.
Anyway, but like when you take it too far and think that every piece of art needs to be, championing the cause, it stuffs up the enjoyment of it and stuffs up the real value of it.
And here's someone who's made a grand effort, and your negative review is actually hampering the effort, I think.
Anyway, enough of that.
Yes.
I want to hear from our special guest.
Yes, it's time.
Is it time?
Yes.
Is it time? Look, I love hearing from you.
Yeah, me too,
I want
man.
a fresh voice.
Doc, it's always a pleasure. And it's time.
I want to know what it reminded you of. I've got a couple, but perhaps we can always also ask Akwasi what it reminded him of.
Yes, so let's get Akwasi on. We'll introduce him. We'll learn a bit about him. We'll talk reminds me ofs, references, and go from there.
Excellent.
Let's switch up the cameras.
Cut to Akwasi. With the magic of media, we're here quickly, and the Baron is right by my side, and we're here with Akwasi Osei-Tutu.
Dude, thanks for joining us, man.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
This is great. I love the setup.
This is new for us, although we did have Sal in your seat. When was that? One episode ago.
Yeah,
it feels like longer ago. But
Sal's getting bloody COVID tested today, so he's out of the picture.
He's not even in the room with us today.
There's an opening there, Akwasi.
I'll take it.
Can you wet it?
I'll take it.
Do you want to be the new
I'll cancel
Sal?
everything. Yes, I'll take it. Sorry, Sal, wherever he is.
So I should add, I think I already said it, but we're brother-in-laws. Edie, my wife, is Akwasi's sister. And we've known each other for 20 years. Yeah. 20 years.
About there.
Yeah. And in that time, you've done a lot of traveling. We did some traveling. You you ended up in Melbourne.
Yep.
We ended up in Melbourne. You started stand-up comedy, I don't know, how many years ago now?
About 4.5.
4.5 years ago. And we've had the joy of watching your career take off as you've really single-handedly kind of pushed and made your career a thing by just sort of grinding away, doing the shows, promoting, making it happen. And it's been a wonderful, beautiful thing to see.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been fun. It's been challenging, but fun. A lot of fun, yeah.
Well, that's a biased opinion, but my unbiased opinion is exactly the bloody same. Because I saw your show, a couple of weeks back?
Yeah, by fire, by force.
By fire, by force, and it was a force of a show.
I'm glad you liked
it. I loved it.
I'm glad.
And I'd recommend anyone who sees you advertised on your Facebooks or whatever to go and see you.
I appreciate that.
And this film, what's it called? Don't Look Up.
Don't Look Up.
We particularly wanted Akwasi's view on it because it's such a weird combination of social commentary and comedy. And I know when I am wanting to socially comment or be comedic, my go-to man is usually Akwasi. So I'm keen to hear an unbiased opinion what he thinks about this.
Absolutely.
I liked it. I really enjoyed it. Initially, I was like, what's going on? Is this a serious movie or is it comedy? But then you just got to go with the flow. And I realized, I think I heard you say earlier on that you heard some reviews and I think they were a bit critical about it. But it's like almost, the movie's like telling a joke. You can't explain a joke afterwards and go, all right, guys, this is what I meant. You know,
Right.
That's how I saw it. So
Yeah.
I think the movie was it was perfect because they're not really saying exactly what they're talking about, but everybody knows what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Right. Climate change.
Yeah.
So that's what I really thought.
That's interesting because you and one of the reasons we thought of you is that you've for instance you talk about your beard in your recent stand up, and I don't want to give anything away, but you use your beard to talk about some of the racial issues in the world today, and I just thought that what a great parallel to what this film is doing.
Right.
Just making something understandable and relatable to everyday people who not even really understand all of the issues at stake.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that? Like when you're approaching your comedy, what's your formula? What are you trying to do? What are you trying to achieve with it?
I guess if you've heard a lot of I'm trying to educate at the same time, make fun out of even what I'm educating. For example, I talk about Ethiopia and I talk about the African colors, the red, yellow, and the green. And a lot of people don't know that. And I had to do my research to find that out. And I was like, oh, okay. So the Ethiopian colors are the red, yellow, and the green. And most African countries have adopted that because of Ethiopia and what they've done in the past. So, yeah. I like to kind of tell people a story. I love telling stories as a storyteller. So I talk about my dad, I talk about, people around me. So hopefully I'll be talking about you guys soon on stage. Who knows? But yeah, whatever I say, I just don't want to stand there and tell fart jokes the whole time, Yeah. Sure, I'll tell a fart joke or two, but I want to say something that is meaningful that people can take away and go, oh, I did not know that. So I really enjoy that aspect of comedy where at the end of my shows, someone will come up to me and say, I did not know about the Ethiopia. I did not know about A, B, and C. I was like, okay, that's great. You learned something. Or we've all learned something. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, I got a lot out of that in your last show, and including the beard joke.
Yes.
Which I think we've got a lot of similarities
We
with our
do.
beards.
Yours is impressive. I was telling you earlier on. I like it.
But your backstory on your beard is both, interesting and comedic, but also deep.
And
we won't give that away. Go and see one of Akwasi's shows for that. But you hit the nail.
Absolutely. So one of the things I was thinking about, and actually having been to a bunch of your shows, one of the things you do when you first walk out onto the stage is you acknowledge country.
Yes.
And I've always thought, I've had a sense of respect for that because I think every performer knows that moment at the very beginning when you walk out on the stage, the music's playing, whatever it is a moment filled with energy.
Yes.
And what you do is you deflate all of that energy straight away with an acknowledgement of country.
Yeah.
And and you make people sit back and
Yeah.
go, oh, okay,
Yeah.
this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
All right. And then you have to do the work to
Yes.
build that energy
Yes.
back up again.
Yes.
Tell me about that. Like, it's an interesting decision, and I've always respected it.
I'm surprised. Well, I'm glad you've noticed that, because a lot of people don't notice that I take the air out the room, and everyone's kind of like, oh, you know, because you say an acknowledgement to country, and then you got to build it up again. So, as a black man in Australia, I think it's very important that we acknowledge where we are. And I think everybody needs to do that. I personally think, especially when you've got large gatherings. So when I do that, like I think you two came to different shows. You came to the first show by Fire by Force, and you came to the Thursday one, which was the second show. And I remember in the first show, I don't know if you remember, but people were clapping. When I was doing the acknowledgement to country, they really liked it. In the second show, people clapped, but not as much. But you can see, I love watching people, and they're all nodding, going, yes, I'm glad you're doing this. I'm glad you're doing that. And in most of my shows, I think people come up to me afterwards and go, I was surprised you did that. I'm very glad you did that. So, I think it's something that who told me to do that? I think when I first started comedy, my girlfriend at the time told me to do it. And I thought it was a really important thing to do. So I learned how to, right now I can say it off the top of my head. I had to kind of remember how to say it. And that took me a little bit. But once I got it, I was like, okay, cool. So when I go to Adelaide, I'll find out the traditional owners of the land there, and I'll change the name. It'll be the same kind of speech, change the name. When I had a show in Sydney, I changed the name. In Perth, I changed the name as well. I think I've forgotten what the traditional owners of Perth City are. But I change it wherever I go. Noongar is Perth, yes.
You know, that's great. And you actually put a twist on it too, in that you add the whole sort of sovereignty hasn't
not been ceded yet.
Yeah, which is
not truly assigned yet.
Yeah, it kind of makes it. Yeah. It really drives it home.
Yeah.
So okay, things like that is what made me think of you for this film. I think we were both talking about that. Tell us a little bit about your perspectives as someone watching this film. You don't normally sit around critiquing films on a podcast, but tell us what you thought.
I'll start with the negative. I thought it was too long.
Okay.
It was really long.
It was long.
It was a long movie. And look, I enjoyed obviously I enjoyed the comedic side of things. The chief of staff, he was great. What's his name?
Jonah Hill.
Yeah. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
He was brutal, but he was very good. And I only picked it up later on that he was his mum was the president. I was like, oh, you got to be kidding me. So I thought that was very interesting as well. And
I got to add that when they first said the she's your mum thing, I thought it was kind of like they were making a joke, like they were too close.
Me too.
Yeah,
and that there was an awkward
Yeah.
mum-son thing going on, and then it turns out she is actually his mum.
I didn't realize till listening to other podcasts.
Yeah.
That
Oh,
it was
right,
the
yeah.
son either.
Yeah.
And then I guess when you think of that, you think of like the Trump sons.
Right.
yes,
And he sort of looked a bit like them. Didn't
Okay.
he? Yeah.
You guys talked about Leo as well, and I think when he was younger, I wasn't a fan.
Oh,
But
good.
ma-
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
I wasn't a fan, but
Me either.
I've got to admit that in the last maybe 8 years, I was like, this guy can act. He is incredible. And so in this movie as well, I thought he was great. He's kind of a little bit different to what he does, but he was just that guy's good. He's really good.
I was saying to Edie, I was like afterwards going, okay, they're all just pretending that he's this really handsome doctor, right?
Yeah.
Is he even handsome
he was
anymore?
Not in that movie.
I'm like, is he handsome
Not
anymore?
Has he ever been handsome? Like
I don't
a
know.
straw poll.
Yeah.
I've never found Leonardo
Well, he's
DiCaprio
very
to be-
boyish.
Boyish, yeah.
Yeah, and-
yeah.
Right? That's what I've always
Yeah.
thought. And I
Yeah.
thought, okay, when he was younger, he was sort of
He was boyish.
boyishly handsome.
And is he still boyishly handsome?
Well, now he's
as
sort of-
a what is he?
They
40,
made him
50?
look that way, though.
I
They
think
made
he
him
looks
look
a bit hobbity now, like he's sort of...
They made him
know
look
what I
with that weird beard, and he had a bit of a gut.
Yeah.
And
a
I
dad
don't,
bod.
I don't think he's got a. He's in shape, isn't he?
So what I was
Yeah.
challenging Edith on was like, okay, forget he's Leonardo DiCaprio.
Mm.
Objectively, is this guy even handsome at all, or are we just in this some weird warp time,
Correct.
like weird, whatever?
Correct. I think you're right. If
Okay.
if that was if he was a dude off the street and we
Yeah.
saw him, you'd be like, who's that?
Yeah,
But because like attractiveness happens within culture, doesn't it?
True.
Like Brett Sutton, we were
Brett
talking
Sutton,
about before.
perfect
Like
example.
he's okay. He's not a bad-looking guy, but because he's
not steamy.
He's not steamy.
No.
And Leonardo DiCaprio is probably not steamy either. But you get him into the public eye, and then gradually the ideas of what beauty are change as with who is thrust into the public eye.
Yes. And this
And
can
Leo is
happen
one
with men especially.
That's what I was about to say. The other way around, I don't think it works. It doesn't necessarily work.
Really?
I think about this theory, and I've heard many people talk about it, and I find it fascinating. So
This is why we brought you on for these theories.
these theories. Like, I heard a comedian once say, Patrice Hill, one of the greatest comedians of all time, may his soul rest in peace. He talked about how, I don't even know, can I swear on this podcast?
Yes, you can.
Yes.
Okay, so he talks about how the differences between men and women. Like a woman will see a man and be like, okay, that dude's good looking, but I wouldn't ruin my relationship over it. But the other way around, like a woman who's successful and a woman who's sleeping on the street behind the dumpster, if she's gorgeous, we don't care.
That's true.
We don't care.
So did I just say that's true?
It is true.
I meant that's ridiculous.
Yeah, but it is true. It's like, so Leo, I mean, anyway, I hope that makes sense.
Yes.
Because for a man, we really don't care. Like the lady working at McDonald's or the CEO, we don't care.
Yeah.
A woman's different.
Yeah.
It just is what it is.
And he's sort of suddenly on TV.
Yes.
He's presenting himself as like a figure of authority.
Yes.
And they're like, you know what? He's pretty
That's
good
sexy
looking.
for a woman.
It's sexy.
Yes.
Yes.
Not for a man.
He's
It's
got a
not
dad bod,
necessarily.
sure, but he's a scientist. He's accomplished. He's on TV.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But wasn't that a definite shift in the film? Because you had the first, I think it was half of the film, or first hour of the film, and it led to a solution to the whole thing where we were going to shoot this comet out of the sky, and everyone was really rapt that was going to happen. Everyone was high-fiving.
Yes.
And there were still images interspersed with the footage. And it was as if that was the end of the film, and this is thumbs up. And then that failed, and it went into another zone, and in that zone, he became the sex symbol. He was no longer passionate. He was playing the game. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure where I was going with that, but it was a definite shift for Leo being a passionate scientist to a media whore.
He got wrapped up in the game. Absolutely.
He did, didn't he? Yeah, you're right.
And a different character.
Yeah.
I would love to know your thoughts on this.
Yeah.
I came away from this film feeling a little bit like we're all screwed. you know what I mean?
I agree.
Yeah, like
It hit too close to home.
Yeah.
I was like, this is life. This is what it is right now.
What this film is telling me, and I'd love to know what your thoughts on this, is that we aren't ready to deal with the crisis that we're dealing with.
That's true. Will we ever be ready?
I don't know.
Oh, that's a good counter question.
Yes. Yeah.
Always answer a question with a question. But like it's a great question.
It's a great question.
And your counter question is too scary to.
It's very scary.
To contemplate.
It's very scary.
And that's what the film's trying to do.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. Like when you guys were talking about, obviously the movies don't look up. People like look up, and then immediately other people just, for whatever reason, like don't look up. It's just there's always an opposition to everything.
Yes.
And sometimes there needs to be in order to challenge ideas. That's important. But don't just I think people just do it just to do it.
Yeah.
You know, the people who are saying don't look up, like there's no reason for them to say don't look up, but they just wanted to do it anyway. And that's in terms of climate change. You know, some people don't know anything about it, but they're like they're just opposite anyway.
Yeah.
And it's almost like we're screwed.
Yeah.
It's like the movie was telling us, oh yeah, this is real. This is screwed. We're screwed. Like, and I don't know if I was telling someone about it where I said, like in terms of climate change, if we do nothing about it and something happens, we're kind of screwed. But on the other hand, if we do something about it, I think I flipped it around. Anyway.
No, you got it.
Yeah, if we do something about it and nothing happens, we're all right. But if we don't do something about it and something happens, there's no coming back.
So we might as well do something.
We might as well do something,
because
right?
doing nothing is a definite...
Absolutely.
It's definitely a lose. Well, it could be a lose. It's like if you don't do anything and it all goes horribly wrong, you're going to feel like the biggest idiot on the planet, right? But if you do something and actually nothing happens, well, not a big loss, right?
But that's why it's not just climate change. I know the film, they say it's a climate change film, but it's broader than that.
You're right.
It's about how we deal with information now and how it's you don't get facts straight. It goes through this filter of the media,
and everyone has a say.
And everyone has a say, and there's no there's no sort of scale of what's real and what's not. And it's as true for COVID. And I felt that it's more a COVID film than a bloody climate change film.
That's
we get
interesting.
all this stuff presented to us, and some people say it's right, and some people say it's wrong.
By the way, that's what Sal said as well. I spoke to him today.
Yeah.
He's, as we said...
wow,
he's,
Sal, the maestro.
The maestro.
The maestro is quarantining, but he did say he felt it was more of a comment on COVID. Because I guess that's the crisis of the times.
Sure.
Even though climate change is like this, thing that's been going on for at least 40 years. But
as movie experts, how long would it have taken to complete this movie?
And who are you referring to?
Both
as
of you.
Movie
Both
experts?
both of you. I knew you were going to say something.
No, I'll hand the baton to the Baron here.
like, when did they start making it?
When did they start making?
Well, I reckon the script was written well before COVID.
That's right.
That
I
would
agree.
That's
that would
right.
be my
That-
take.
that was what I was
I
getting.
think even the filming probably started
Before.
before COVID.
Yeah.
But I think that's the beauty of it, and that's why I respect it, because I didn't see it as a climate change film. I saw it as a COVID film, and the fact that it's obviously been, thought of prior to COVID means it's more a universal film. Like
It's a universal
could
theme.
be, it could be any time, and I think it's a particular comment on our current time.
Yes.
But not particularly an issue in our current time.
I think it was written during the reign of Trump, for sure.
Absolutely. Meryl Trump.
Meryl Trump.
Yeah,
However, probably before COVID kicked in.
Yeah.
COVID has just perfectly illustrated all of the problems in this scenario.
And the news broadcasters, like with Tyler Perry and
yeah.
the other lady,
Cate Blanchett.
it's just perfect.
I thought they were great.
They
The
were
fact
great.
that They were like,
because that's real. That's
Yeah.
what we do in today's world.
let's keep it light, folks. Let's
Yeah,
keep it light.
yeah.
Okay, so that brings me to a great question for you. Well, I'm calling it a great question.
Well,
that brings me to
let us
question.
be the
Yeah.
designers of whether it's a great question or not.
Yeah.
At least he called himself out on it.
I know, right?
You're like, all right.
Great question. Hey, folks, drum roll. This is likely to be a great question. We're not 100% sure.
Because it came from me.
Yes.
Don't forget.
Okay.
Okay. Alex, go ahead with your great question.
Oh, it's so hard to say the question.
Yeah, no.
So, when you were writing your comedy and
Yes.
you want to talk about a serious topic
Yes.
that's important to you,
Yes.
however you're couching it in the world of comedy, how do you do it? I mean,
That's a great question.
Okay. Is it a great question? That is a very good
because I
question.
think that's what Adam McKay's done here.
Yeah, right.
So
Good one.
So in terms of how I write comedy in general, I write facts first. Just dot points in facts. I'm not trying to write a story. What do I know about the topic? And I start breaking it down, adding little bits of funny, or try if I've got a particular a heading, a dot point, I will just have some subheadings, and I'll have as many points. And through that, once you keep doing that, things will come out of it.
Yeah.
And there's funnies that will come out of it. So I've got questions on the topic, for example, that I'll ask myself. I'll put analogies there, and initially I just write it out. So I normally don't have a specific like a joke to go with it straight away, but I know that there's something coming out of it. There's gold in it, right?
Yeah.
So I guess that's how I write facts first, and then I kind of expand from there.
I love it.
Yeah.
So But you so you're trying to cut through to general audiences. You don't know who's going to be in the room.
You don't know.
You don't know who's going to be
Yeah,
there, right?
yeah.
You don't know what their biases are going to be.
Yes.
You don't know if they're going to be leaning left or right, or if they're going to have, you know, some hang-ups. How do you often think about, like, okay, I'm going to get my point across. I'm going to talk about racial issues, for instance. I'm going to talk about, you know, the experience of being an African man in Australia today. What do you worry about? How do you think about, you know, getting this across? Because in terms of this film, I think one of the things that's so clever about it is that Adam McKay has gone. I want to talk about our inability to deal with a crisis
Or come together.
and come together when the science is there. It's clear. It's clear as day.
Yeah.
But I'm going to do it. I'm going to come at it this way.
And he even talks about, like, the movie. It's like we can't come together, and then there's always someone trying to make money out of it. I always think follow the money. Wherever anything is, I'm like, follow the money.
Yeah.
It gets you to where the issue is, or So in terms of the question that you asked, I think you might have to ask it again. I was like, what did he say again? Because I'm still, please.
Can I just jump in the previous answer?
Please do.
And about your process. I found your process so fascinating.
Yeah.
You talk about, you know, taking the facts.
Yes.
And, you know, writing them down.
Yes.
You're dealing with facts first.
Yes.
And that just reminded me so much of writing an essay or a thesis or something like that. It's no real different. You're just getting the facts on the table, and it's only after you've assembled them that I imagine the jokes sort of just spring out of that.
Absolutely.
Just due to being a funny bloody guy, which I can attest to.
Oh, thank you.
You know, but getting the facts on the table and then, you know, understanding them, knowing the intricacies of them, and knowing the territories you can.
Yes.
Territories. Sorry to use that word.
I hear what you mean.
A marketing term.
It's a
is it?
marketing term. Yeah, but it's true. You know, knowing what you can explore on those facts, and then just using your bloody God-given, you know, comedic genius to riff on that.
I created a template for myself right in the beginning, maybe in the first year of comedy, and it's worked for me, and it still works for me. So, like I said, I've got a topic. I've got what do I know about the topic, and that's the first thing. And then I go, I've forgotten what exactly. I've got like maybe about 7 or so subheadings, and then one of them is create a question about it, and just write as many questions, and that takes you in all kinds of different directions. What's a sub problem to the question that I'm asking, or what's the sub problem to the topic that I'm asking? And I'll create an analogy, and there's a few other points as well. So
And it just
flows
brings
from
the
there.
ideas out.
Oh, it brings everything out. Yeah,
That's interesting. It's like you kind of like you're throwing it all on the page first, and then you can bring it together.
Correct. So when after that, then I'll actually write paragraphs and go, okay, this is what it looks like, and then I transfer it into a book one last time, and I'll go through and kind of memorize the important key bits. And when I get on stage, that's how I start a joke. So to me, it's funny. Obviously, that's why I wrote it. But once I get on stage, that's the test. And people ask, how do you know if a joke's funny? Well, the people tell you.
Yeah.
Do they laugh or not? That's it. I think comedy is one of the one of the toughest art forms, because you have to practice in front of a live audience. That's it. I mean, if I was playing music, I can play here and kind of. But if I'm in front of the mirror at home, that means nothing until I am in front of people and I go, oh, crap, all right, that didn't work. Or that worked, that didn't work. Okay. So I always record myself just to watch it. I go back. It's hard watching yourself, by the way. I hate it. So I go back and I watch it.
We love it. We watch ourselves all the time.
Yeah, I bet you do.
We
freaking
Two
love
good-looking
it.
men like you, of course you do.
I'm not sure I always love it.
Sometimes we don't even have to.
Yeah, you're like,
edit
that was
as long
great.
as we do, but we just decide to edit for longer.
Because you're that good.
Yeah.
I did listen to a couple of our back catalogue today, and watched as well. I started the day feeling quite happy, ended feeling a bit depressed.
Wow. What?
It's. I guess it's a process.
Good discipline, man.
Yeah, it's a lot of
discipline.
I guess that's one thing that I'm happy that I got, is the discipline to kind of go ahead with it. And sometimes it can be a double-edged sword, so I've got to be careful with that, where I don't overdo it. I've learned to kind of just in the beginning, I was very just too disciplined. I was like, I won't stop. But now it's like, okay, I'll leave a joke and I'll come back to it a week later and I'll focus on another joke and come back and all these ideas kind of come up. So yeah, that's great.
That's great.
I think it's a great insight into the comedic mind, because like I think these days the comedians, like you think of what's his name, Chappelle,
Yeah.
you know, and they're some of the best thinkers.
Oh,
You
absolutely.
know, by looking for the humor in it is where you get the truth.
Yes.
And I just love. I've not heard such a, you know, analysis of what the process is of comedy probably before. So that's wonderful as far as really knowing the subject before you start, you know, rolling your eyes at the subject.
There's a lot of pain in it in the beginning, in terms of in the beginning of comedy where you're going to suck. Like, it's not going to go well. And I think what I had to learn was, okay, it's okay. Tomorrow's another day. And but you will get better. That's the thing. But I just took it to heart initially. But I've learned, okay. Otherwise, if I keep taking it to heart every time we call it bombing on stage and it doesn't go well.
Yeah.
You'll quit very soon. You got to play the long game. And I've realized that. And I know, okay, I can tell some funny jokes. Not all of them are going to be a hit. And you don't know which ones are not going to be a hit.
Yeah.
And when they're not a hit for me, I never throw them away. It just means that
You got to rework them.
Correct. Or I'm not at the stage. There's a lot of topics I want to talk about, but I don't think I'm at the stage of a stage where I can actually do it justice. So I've tried some, doesn't work. I put it to a side, and that's fine, because I always think to myself, the joke's funny. If I gave this to Dave Chappelle, he'll make it funny. It's it's me. It's not the joke. It's not the topic, you know? So I always put it to a side, and I'll come back to it in some years' time. But it's a long game. Comedy, just standing there on stage and bombing. There's a lot of bombing. There's a lot of, okay, that didn't work. Damn it. Why didn't that work?
Well, I haven't seen you bloody bomb.
But in preparation.
Yeah,
when you're
one
preparing.
of your bits that appealed to me was the self-conscious bit that was with you. You were practicing.
Yes.
You know, your material
in
the
park?
basketball court.
Yeah. A park, in the middle of a park.
Yeah. And that really resonated with me, because I thought he's putting as part of his comedy the fact that he's rehearsing for his comedy, and it was a really
that's nice,
really
Not everybody does that. I do that because I'm like, okay, this is and there's distractions with dogs coming up to you, you know, and I go, okay, focus. So I'm in the middle of a park practicing, and there's people's dogs, and I turn away. Normally I'll pet the dog, but not when I'm rehearsing for a show. I'm like, okay, that's a distraction. If deal with it, because you might get it in the show.
Yeah.
Not a dog, but you'll get
something.
There was distractions in the second show.
Yeah.
You were
totally.
there, and I had to kind of deal with it. So that's part of it. So it's like, okay, deal with it, move on.
Absolutely.
You're practicing in front of yourself, in front for an hour in the middle of a park. I like doing that. And what I like to do, in the beginning, the first maybe 15 seconds, my heart is racing. It just is, because it's every performer. Like, if you really care about it, your heart will be racing. So what I do is in the park, I do some sprints, get my heart rate up, and then when I grab my drink bottle and I'm rehearsing, it mimics how I feel when I first got on stage. There's no other way to get that feeling.
Wow.
So
That's
I sprint.
beautiful.
Yeah, I didn't say that on stage, but that's what I do. I kind of sprint.
Yeah.
And when I'm talking, I learn to slow my breath down for the 15 seconds, and after that, I'm good. I'm like, all right, let's go.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
For the audience at home, Akwasi is a very fit, you know, Prince.
What is Prince? I'm not fit at all. Not at all.
Dude, very fit.
He is fit.
You were about to go travel
Yeah.
the world.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about that.
It's obviously we've been in lockdown for a very long time, and prior to that, I was just going to travel to a couple of destinations and come back. But now, after lockdown or during lockdown, the 5th or 6th lockdown, I was like, life is way too short. And
Six, isn't that crazy?
Fifth
Yeah.
or sixth.
I know.
It's
Crazy.
mad. It's
You
mad.
could say the 3rd or 4th,
Oh my
or the
God.
7th or 8th.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Actually, it was the 4th or 5th. But after this, when the 6th arrived, I was gone mentally. I was like, I'm out.
The 6 was a big one.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was a big one.
That was rough.
Do you
Yeah,
remember the numbers?
I do. I can remember the 6 being shit.
Yeah.
That was a shit one.
It was rough.
I
Yeah.
just remembered that we shouldn't be so close together. Like
I know.
If one of us has it, the other does.
We've all got it. Yeah, so I decided I decided I would go traveling to as many countries as possible, but I want to go to. I'm going to northern part of South America, the Caribbean. I'll be in the States for just a short amount of time, Canada as well for a short amount of time, and all these places I go to, I want to visit quite a lot of the African communities or the black communities in the like Colombia and in Brazil. I just want to see how they live and what they find funny. So I'll have this show called, or call it a show. It's called What Language Do You Laugh In? And I just want to. So I'll be vlogging, and I've bought a camera, I've bought a drone, and what I'll be doing is I'll just be going on the streets and just speaking to people and kind of getting the ideas on what they find funny, what's funny to them, what their country finds funny, and how they go about things. I'll just be traveling kind of everywhere, just documenting it, I guess. So I'm really looking forward to that. So then I'll do about the south of Africa, and then I'll be in Ghana for a little while, and then see where we go from there.
How cool is that? What language do you laugh in?
Yeah.
That's
Just basically trying to say we're all the same.
Yeah.
We're all the same. Like you see kids in every country that you go to, if you do picky poo with a kid, they love it.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. I mean, when we grow, we change a little bit, but naturally we're all the same.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so you're going
that's beautiful.
Ghana, South Africa, and South America.
Yeah, South America and so the southern part of Africa, the northern part of South America, the Caribbean as well, and even last night I was doing a bit of research on Jamaica and where to go and all those places. So I'm looking forward to it. They have a lot of rum, so I'm looking forward to it. So yeah, dude, I'm selling everything. But by the time I come back, I'll have nothing. But I think it'll be worth it. I need to do it. It's a must, I think, for me.
Oh, a life experience.
You'll have life experience.
Yes.
You'll have COVID.
Yeah. Again, yeah. So I'm really looking forward to that. It'll be a challenge, and I do like a challenge, and I am a little bit I wouldn't say afraid, but the reason why I started comedy was because I wasn't a good public speaker. So primary school, high school, university, and even at work, presentations, I hated it. I would be shaking, right? And so I started comedy to just improve my public speaking. So the first time I went, it was just to kind of, try it out. And I sucked at it. It was horrific. I only had 5 minutes to do. And I did the first minute, I improvised, that was good, and the remaining 4 was just a nightmare. And I didn't go back for 4 months, and then continued again. So I didn't go 4 months. 4 months later, I was like, come on, man, you got to do it again. So I did it again, and I did it 4 or 5 more. I was thinking to myself, just do it 4 or 5 more times, and just, you finished. But after that, I was like, I don't mind this. But I was still scared every time I get on stage. Even right now, my heart's always racing just before I go on stage. And it's the reason why I started the public speaking thing was just to improve like the weakest part of me. So, which was public speaking. I was like, okay, if I can do that, I think I can do anything else. So this is also, when something scares me, I look to myself and go, that's an opportunity. You need to do that. Yeah. So that's why I'm like almost basically going traveling again, because it scares me when I think about it. Like, oh, you by yourself, you're gonna sell everything? Really? I think you should do it. So that's why I'm doing it in a way. I don't have any kind of major responsibility. So
It's such a great personality trait, though, to be just.
But I have to force it, and then I know like my mind won't let me rest, and now that I know that I can, it's like you found a formula in a way. It's like I did it I still can't believe I'm doing comedy. Like I sit there sometimes, like, you're doing that? That's crazy. Like, really? Because that's the weakest part. That's the last thing that I should be doing is comedy. I should be playing sport or doing something, but not comedy. So when I look at it that way, I go, okay, if you can do that.
If that's your weakest part,
easy.
You're a Superman.
that was my weakest. Not anymore. So,
but he's been working hard.
Yeah,
like
it's been good.
That's the truth. I mean, I saw you early on.
Yes.
I saw you early on. I'm not saying you were shit. I'm not saying that.
But you're saying I was horrible. No. I get it.
Your improvement has been through the roof.
Yeah,
and that's a testament to the work.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about.
And I often think
we talk about the creative process all the time as a sideline to what we're doing on this podcast, and that's all it is. It's the work. You put it in.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's so true. You put in the work, you I think you inevitably get what you want. If you put in the work. If you want it, go get it. I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
So fingers crossed.
Well, that's great, man. I think that show that you're going to do, where What Language Do You Laugh In?
Yes.
It's a continuation of what you've been doing with your comedy.
Yeah.
You're still talking about the same issues.
Yes.
here.
Yeah.
And the fact that you're going around the world talking to different African communities.
Yes.
And pulling out the idea that we're all the same is awesome.
Yeah, and also like I've got another show called Flavor of Art that I'll be adding to it, where I'll be interviewing. That it will just be a one-on-one interview with an artist. Doesn't matter what they do. They could be on the street. If I think it's impressive, I'll like sit there, put the camera, go, hey, do you mind me recording you or interviewing you? And that'll be like 10 minutes or whatever. And I'll just find out about them. And so I've got the Flavor of Art and What Language Do You Laugh In. I'm really looking forward to doing them both.
That's great.
It'll keep me busy.
That's great.
Yeah.
So we don't know what we're doing here with this show. We're sort of
never have.
experimenting.
Yeah.
However, so
That's the best way to
I
go
think
about
what
it.
we said we were going to do was talk about things that we were reminded of.
Yes.
Did you have any references for the film?
For the
So
film.
we're back to Don't Look Up.
Yes. Don't look up.
We're back to we've taken a big
Yes. Detour.
detour, but that's great, right?
Absolutely.
And we'll figure out what the hell format we want to do when we have guests on. But it's been an awesome discussion anyway.
No, thank you.
Um,
Thanks for having me.
yeah.
In the end, it reminded me of Inception at the end, where they were kind of
Another
all
Leo
just-
film.
Yeah, yeah. Where everything
Awesome.
right at the end,
Yeah.
you know, I was like, oh, Inception. But
You mean when they're sitting at the table,
Correct,
and it's
correct.
all falling apart around
and
them?
it's all falling
Yeah,
apart.
okay.
Yes.
Interesting. I
Great.
thought you were going to say another film.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, which I might mention later.
Yeah, please do.
But you.
Yeah, so Inception was kind of what I got towards the end, but there've been quite a few doomsday kind of movies,
Yeah.
end of days kind of movies, and that kind of reminded me on that.
End of Days is one of those.
And there
movies.
you go.
True.
Yeah, so I think Inception for me right at the end.
Interesting.
What was the end of Inception? I can't remember.
Where I think they'll fall in, when they fall in the water and right at the end.
Yeah, there's
Or
a whole
there's
kind
there's
of
bit.
crazy. They go so deep within the whole whatever.
Yeah.
They go
Inception
dream within a
thing.
dream within a dream.
And the
within a
world's
dream.
Yes.
falling apart.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're having a dramatic moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you guys?
Oh,
I'm interviewing you.
Flung it
Yeah. What about you guys?
Flipped it.
He's flipped it. Okay, no, I'm happy for Akwasi to interview us. if you want.
Please.
Beautiful.
Well, okay, I'll start.
Please do.
This is how it reminds me of, Melancholia is the one that I always thought you were going to say, because that Melancholia is Lars von Trier and starring Kirsten Dunst.
I think I've seen it.
And this is going to be one of yours.
You know what? I almost added it to the list.
Okay, it just...
Almost added it to the list.
And you didn't because?
Beautiful. I don't know why I didn't. I actually thought about it. I thought about it.
Doomsday. I don't know if it's a doomsday story, but
Absolutely.
it is a doomsday
Yeah.
thing where the earth is going to freaking finish, and you just...
Is there a
melancholy
planet or is it the moon? I can't remember.
Well, melancholia is a celestial object,
Okay.
I think,
It's a celestial object
and
crashing into the planet.
crashing into the planet,
And you can see it coming at
Yeah.
the end of the film.
and you're wondering, okay, what do we do now? And that's, I think specifically at the end of the film, that really quite a nice sequence in the last 5 or 10 minutes when they're having a dinner party and they know it's all going to freaking end.
It's a wrap. Yeah.
It's a wrap, correct. And all of them, Leo in particular, but all of them are just, what does Leo say? He says something like...
Doc always writes down
Does he?
things while he's
Yeah, I
watching the
did.
film.
I like it.
I
love that.
did.
Yeah.
We really did have everything, didn't we?
Oh, that was the line of the film.
That's the line of the film.
That was the moment. That was the line of the film.
Why?
That's like the
Why
deep.
is it a line of the film?
I did you feel that was?
Well,
Obviously you two did.
It's talking to all of us.
Yes.
Like, so here we are, Leonardo DiCaprio of all people, the star of the bloody 90s and 2000s, saying, about to have a comet destroy him. He's saying we really did have everything. And that's, I think
It's deep.
It's deep. It
Very
tells
deep.
us all that, like,
it's
yes,
like the Garden of Eden.
yeah.
Appreciate what we have.
Yeah.
It's basically.
It's like the Garden of Eden.
Well, the Garden of Eden happens later, doesn't it? Like when they're all nude.
You're right. You're right.
That's the Garden of Eden.
Yeah.
That's
Yes.
almost the epilogue.
Yeah, but it is this idea of like, we were so blessed. We were so
Took it for
ridiculously
granted. Yeah,
blessed.
yeah.
We
Yeah.
had it all, and we fucked it up.
We took it for granted.
Yeah, yeah. I've got one. Dr. Strangelove. Now,
Don't steal my
Yes!
bloody reminds me of.
yes. Now, I haven't seen it.
Well, you
I'm stealing yours, and I haven't seen it.
You haven't seen Doctor Strangelove.
I haven't. It's like the one Kubrick film that I have not seen, and I actually went looking for the last 2 days everywhere
Yeah.
to get this film, and it is not available for streaming.
Akwasi, look, I'll have to apologise to my co-host here to suggest a film that he hasn't actually seen.
That is a
You've
bit
done
odd.
that before.
That is a bit odd.
It is odd. It is odd. However,
but
it's
it's a great reference.
But if
it's
you
the film that everybody talks
did you
about.
read the whole film instead
in
of watch it?
relationship in relation to this film,
Yeah,
most
it
people
is.
are saying this is the Doctor Strangelove of our time. Now, I would love to have seen it to be able to comment more,
Yeah.
impressively upon this film. However, it seems to be the one, and of course, it's the satire of its time. It's about nuclear bombs, and I'm going to throw to Doc, who's actually seen the film.
You're going to throw to me.
I am.
Yeah, you've seen it.
He's going to mention it reminds me of it. He's going to
And
throw
then-
to
yeah,
bloody
yeah,
me.
yeah. Take the glory and then
Well,
Yeah.
No, I was.
Was it on your list?
It was on my list.
Yes, I knew it'd be. You know what? He's mentioned Doctor Strangelove before on this podcast.
In our first couple
Yes,
of episodes,
yes.
and I don't think we're on YouTube. I think it was just audio before we got all self-conscious with what we looked like.
Correct.
beautiful men.
True.
It is what it is.
But no, Doctor Strangelove is great. Honestly, like I haven't seen it for ages, and I think I need a
Yeah, I really wanted to watch it.
reviewing. But it's the perfect reminds me of, because it's a satire of the times and of all the cataclysmic events that are impacting on those times.
Yeah.
At the moment of its release, it was all about nuclear apocalypse. But that's might as well be climate change.
It's the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And but Kubrick handled it so well. I'm not sure this film stands up to Doctor Strangelove.
Really? Okay.
Like, I think it's in the same, group.
Yep.
And I love this film, and I'll sort of champion it. But Doctor Strangelove is a special, special sort of thing.
I want you to watch it just so that I
Yes.
just want to hear what you think about
Yes.
it.
Have you seen it?
No, I haven't.
Yeah. Well, it ends with Peter Sellers riding a bomb, actually like straddling a bomb that's about to land on something. But
Wow. Okay.
and he's the scientific advisor, so it's the equivalent of ending on Leonardo DiCaprio actually sitting on a bomb that's about to hit something.
Right.
Yeah.
So
How old is this movie?
70s?
Oh.
That sounds right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's renowned. And I think I might have used this as a reminds me now in one of our first episodes.
Yeah, I can remember it early on, and I think we've talked about Melancholia as well. I just can't remember what it was that we were. It was something similar. Yeah.
Actually, I think it was Jojo Rabbit, which is our very first episode.
Oh yeah.
And there was a scene that was quite at the end.
That's what it was.
At the end,
Yeah.
it was a sort of when it got into really combat sort of stuff, and it wasn't Saving Private Ryan style combat. It was kind of flamboyant.
It was.
Sort of combat.
It was dancey.
It was dancing
Dancing combat.
And dancing combat, I think, is what Strangelove
Yes.
does very well.
Right.
Riding a bomb at the end.
Yes.
I gotta see
I
this
love
movie.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Are
love
you
it.
learning anything on this?
I am. I
Okay,
definitely need to watch it.
What else, Sparrow?
We've talked about Sorkin. I've already, so I'm not going to mention that again. Although, I got bits of Newsroom.
Oh yeah.
Probably West Wing. I've never been a big West Wing guy, but that's probably one that you could mention.
But there are notes of West Wing.
Yes.
You're right.
Yep.
That's Sorkin, yeah.
Yeah, Sorkin as well. Death to 2020 came up, and after watching this, I watched Death to 2021.
Yeah. Ditto.
You did the same thing?
Ditto.
Because it was next on the list, right? When you go to Netflix, it just comes
Oh,
up.
right.
Yeah.
You've watched Don't Look Up. Why don't you watch Death to 2021? However, Death to 2021 was not funny. I didn't find it funny.
Was it supposed to be funny?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. You haven't seen either of those?
No, I haven't seen it.
So basically...
But hang on. What a profound question.
Yeah.
Was it supposed to be funny? Was this film supposed to be funny? I think partially.
Yes. Yes. Are we talking about Death to 2021?
No, you're talking about
Don't Look
Up. Yeah.
Yeah, partially. Right.
It was yeah.
It's meant to be funny, but it's also meant to be highly disturbing. And I think that's probably what Death to 2020 and 2021 is trying to do as well. It's meant to be a bit more, you know...
Yeah.
And I think with Don't Look Up, they thought, listen, let's not be too serious, because people don't tend to kind of... If it's very serious, people will just be like, yeah, whatever. But I think they suck people in with a bit of the comedic aspect of the movie.
Do you reckon they got the balance right, though?
Ooh,
I think they did.
Yeah, I thought
because
they
I read it, you know, watched it as quite true to life, almost not documentary, because it's not documentary, but you know, as a comment on today. I wonder.
I think it was a great mixture.
Yeah.
You can't have it one way. If it was just a comedy, people don't take it seriously. All right, whatever.
Yeah.
And if it's too serious, people are like, don't preach to me.
Yes, don't preach to me.
No one wants to be preached to. People these days, no one wants to be preached to, which sometimes we have to be preached to, but it wouldn't have been received that well if people felt that. So they went, okay, let's tell them something, but we'll add a bit of... That's what I kind of do with comedy. I'm going to tell you something, add a bit of sugar to it just so you can swallow it properly. And, you know, so you don't go kicking and screaming. It's like giving, with dogs, if you're giving them their medicine, you got to wrap the medicine in a meat, in some sort of ham or whatever, and they eat it, right? You can't just give it to them straight because they won't take it. So it's sort of that.
Yep, you're the ham.
I think that's a perfect way to look at it. That's what Adam McKay is trying to do with this. Yeah, it's great. That's great. Did you have any more, Doc?
I've got... Station 11 was another one that reminded me of, which is the current... I think it's on Stan here in Australia, based on a novel, and it's a post-apocalyptic thing. Do either of you know Station 11?
No, I haven't heard of it.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, it stars the guy, strangely, who is the boyfriend of Jennifer Lawrence
in real life.
No, not in real life. In this film,
he was funny.
yeah. Who's also the guy that was in Yesterday, the Beatles film. You know, where he there's an alternate reality.
Awesome.
Yeah. And
Yesterday.
Yesterday.
Oh,
and
man,
he
that's such a
plays
good
all
film.
the Beatles songs and earns a living out of that.
Yeah.
He's really cool. And
he's great.
He's really good, and he's one of the leads in Station 11. It's
awesome.
It's a COVID film, really. Although the book was written pre-COVID about a pandemic, and everyone knows they're going to die, and it just sort of happens.
Yeah.
So this reminded me of that, particularly the moment when you know it's all done.
Yes.
You know, and how do you react to that? Like, what do you keep on doing? In this film, Don't Look Up, you kind of just pretend that it's not happening. You don't look up.
Yeah.
But another option is to freak out.
Right. Which we've seen both of those options with COVID, haven't we?
We have.
Pretend it doesn't exist.
The far ends of
Freak
each
out.
don't work. Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's so true.
You know, we're in this weird situation right now where we've reached a point with COVID where it's so prevalent, it's everywhere, it's out of control. We have to come to terms with the fact that we're all going to get COVID, right? Yeah. And people are not prepared to deal with that.
No.
It's really interesting.
Because we've scared people so much in the beginning.
Right.
And then now we can't take back that fear.
Yes.
It's like, okay, guys, relax. It's you'll be all right if you get it. Look, we can help you out. You'll be okay. We got vaccines and all, but you've scared people right in the beginning. So
we don't know what's true.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't know
right.
what's true,
Exactly.
and we don't know how to deal with nuance. You know, we don't know how to deal with the fact that, you know, early on, no one was vaccinated. It was a worse situation. Now, almost everybody's vaccinated, it's not as bad a situation, but we don't know how to deal with this information. Like, where are we? How does this all work? Like, and that's one of the things like that is highlighted in this film is that people just don't know how to deal with it all.
And no one's telling us how to deal with it.
Right.
Because they don't know either.
And the Meryl Streeps have other agendas.
Yes.
Don't
Correct.
they? So
And then sometimes we can see that.
yeah.
We can see that they've got agendas and we're like, okay, we're not trusting you.
Right.
But we don't have insight into what the reality is outside of that agenda. So Meryl Streep saying something, Scott Morrison in our Australian context is saying something.
Right.
As is Joe Biden, as is bloody everyone. They're saying stuff. But we don't know exactly what to believe. The sexy scientists are saying something, like Brett Sutton in Melbourne is saying something, just like Leo.
Yeah.
And we don't know what to believe.
And the truth is somewhere in the middle, and we don't know where exactly in the middle it is.
So then that leaves everyone to just guess.
Yeah.
And that's a bad place to be in.
Yeah.
It's a bad place to be in, but it's a perfectly fertile ground for comedy, and that's
That's
in.
great for me. Yeah, absolutely right. I think that's very interesting what you said. Like, we don't know how to take the next step together. I think that's what it is. Like, nobody was vaccinated. Now most of us, if not all of us, are vaccinated. How do we not act the same way? We just don't know how to take that next step.
No.
I think that's.
I think that together word is probably the bloody the main one, isn't it? Like, there's probably a lot of people that think they know the next step, but to take it together, in this fragmented society, is tricky.
Yeah.
The answer's in there somewhere.
Yes, yeah, but we don't all have the same
Exactly,
concept of what that is.
exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. And there's so many lies that we just don't know which one's true anymore. We're like, okay, which one do we follow? And in there, the truth is there.
Right.
That's what I think.
Yep. I think that's exactly what it is. Yeah. It's interesting. Any last ones?
No, not from me.
I think I got one, and it's relates back to one of our earlier podcasts again.
Great.
Always love to reference.
Yeah.
She Dies Tomorrow. Do you remember that one?
Oh yeah, I remember that. That was Melbourne International Film
Melbourne
Festival.
International Film Festival. We caned it.
Yeah.
From memory.
Yeah.
We
did. I was not a fan of that film.
You weren't. On reflection, I think it was quite cool. But She Dies Tomorrow was about a society where there was a virus almost that infected people and made them think that they were going to die imminently tomorrow.
Yes.
And that made everyone really reflect on what they would do if they died tomorrow.
What would you do with your last day on Earth?
With your last day on Earth.
Yeah. That's clever.
And
that is a clever idea.
Yeah. And I remember that we loved the concept and we just wished it was done a little bit better.
I stand by that thought.
On reflection, I think it wasn't done that badly, but it did make me, when I was watching this, it made me think, okay, well, if the world was just about to end, what would you do? Because I know that the characters in this sort of reacted differently. At times, Leo was freaking out.
Yeah.
And there were different, reactions toward, to the information. But I thought She Dies Tomorrow. Let's give it a plug. An indie film.
Look, that's cool. Yeah. And actually, one of my favorite moments in this film was the final, not the final scene, but it's the sort of the end, the climax of the film, where they're all sitting around a dinner table together, having a meal, and pointedly ignoring
What's
the
happening?
world literally shaking around them.
Yeah.
And they're just trying to have a normal meal before the end of it all. And I thought it was actually kind of beautiful,
It was. Well, that was the melancholia moment.
Yeah.
As far as I'm
that was the
concerned.
melancholia moment. Absolutely.
And it was also the quote, "We really did have everything."
Yep.
And there were those still frames, not still, but like slow-mo sort of people at the dinner table, trying to draw the emotion out of us. But it worked.
Yeah.
Loved it.
There's a comedian, I can never remember who it was. I actually tried to Google it for this just so I could find out who this person was. Stand-up comedian who makes a joke.
American?
I think he was American.
They're all
I can't
American,
remember.
obviously.
Yeah, mostly they're American.
Yeah, the funny ones are British.
Nice one. Anyway, he makes a joke about how all of humanity's on a train, and there's thousands of carriages.
Oh, that's Woody Allen.
Was that Woody Allen?
Yeah.
You really?
Keep going.
Continue.
I don't remember it being Woody Allen, but maybe it was. And the scientists are all in one carriage at the front of the train where the engine is, and they're pulling the rest of us along, and we're all dead weight. And I just kept thinking about that while I was watching this film.
That's interesting.
Because ever since I heard that joke, ever since then, it stuck with me that there are people who are pulling the rest of us who are all just dead weight.
Yeah.
Just pulling us along, moving us forward, and the rest of us,
we're resisting it.
We're resisting it. We're not helping at all.
At all.
We're being completely useless.
Absolutely.
And that's
so true.
You know,
That's so true.
Yeah, it is.
it's 99.5%.
Not only are we just
of us
when some of us are just not
are useless.
right. Not only are we just sitting there, but we're making it harder for them.
Yes, we're making it harder.
Exactly.
We're the dead weight.
Oh.
They have to pull.
It's not even left and right, is it? It's just sort of... It's the rest of us.
That's brutal.
Making it like an anchor. On the
Yeah,
rest
yeah.
And yet, because we all have a freaking say in this world.
That's
right?
the problem. We all have a say. Not
Those
all of
scientists
us.
up the
I probably
front
shouldn't have a
shoveling
say.
coal are like, the world's going to end. And we're like, whatever.
Keep working.
Keep shoveling
Yeah,
the coal.
yeah.
So we're just promoting autocrats here. Like, you know,
Yeah.
do we want Putin's, to be ruling the world?
No idea. That's
Or
beyond
do
me.
we keep the balance?
I don't know. I honestly don't
I think
know.
comedy is the
I'm
balance.
I'm trying to be. Yeah.
Comedy is the balance, and you are providing that balance.
Why? Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, a part of the movie that I found very interesting was found it strange. You know, they would cut to nature, birds, hippos. What was that about? They kept on doing that. What was that trying to add? What was that trying to include?
No. I think that's easy.
What?
It relates to, so we really did have everything sort of line. It's through the film just identifying, the diversity of what we really have here and making us try and appreciate that. That includes nature as well as everything else. So I think that's all it's trying to do.
Okay.
Yeah. We are also the ones with responsibility, the guilty ones.
I hadn't thought of it like that, but yeah, we are too, aren't we? We're the self-proclaimed sort of leaders of this world.
Yeah.
If it's not the American president, it's us.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Good call. Hadn't really thought about that.
I kept on seeing that. I was like, what's going on here?
And that's that's why we have guests here, Barron, to make us think about things that we would otherwise not think about.
I'd forgotten about that part of the
They're
Yeah.
comedic or profound.
Yep.
And I think we chose just the right guest.
Yeah,
Yes,
thank
we
you.
did. Good discussion. I think we've talked the hell out of this film.
Yeah.
And thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me. This was great.
Where do people follow you online?
Okay, so Akwasi Comedian on Instagram and also YouTube Akwasi Comedian, Facebook Akwasi Comedian. So
It's easy.
it's easy.
It's Akwasi Comedian.
That's it.
Awesome.
Well, it's easy online, but if you happen to be lucky enough to be in a place where he's bloody going to be seen live, I would highly recommend it. Mask up in
Mask
current
up, of
conditions.
course, of course.
But I think masks don't stop you from laughing, and I laughed. My
I'm glad.
What do you say? My
Backside.
backside off at your last show. I loved it.
Awesome.
Yeah,
That makes me happy. I'm glad. I'm glad. Yeah. And Akwasi is spelled Akwasi.
That's good.
Comedian.
Good to know, because everybody that I've ever seen, almost everybody, pronounce your name says Akwasi.
Yeah,
They just
Akwasi.
can't
Yeah.
deal with the fact that the first A is an A and the second A is an E.
Yeah.
Sound.
Yeah, it sounds like an E, but it's an A. Yeah.
Yeah. Funny you mention that, because I pronounce your name right, but I spell it wrong.
Oh, do you?
So now I know it's spelled Akwasi.
Yeah.
Pronounced Akwasi.
Yes.
Beautiful.
That's it.
Thanks for joining us.
No, thank you very much for having me. Appreciate it.
We loved it. Let's do guests more often.
Yes.
Maybe we can get Akwasi back.
Yes.
Yes, in the
Yes.
future, absolutely. I would love to.
I'm not sure he was excited enough.
No, I was. Get me back. Definitely.
See you next time, folks. We loved it. We will talk about another film soon.
Yes. See you in a couple of weeks.